Jude Children's Research, single other care in the world except for woman, because St. Jude made that happen. The best way I can really describe it is this is heaven on earth. To the people who donate to St. Jude, I just want them to know that I don't think anyone in this world or anything in this world has given me a greater gift. We came as two desperate parents, and they saved our daughter's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Got my passport Friday.
Musician,
Thursday.
Lodgy stays true to her creative vision, even with continuing vision loss, but she's not alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Lachi, lending means using her voice to bring hope to others with vision loss. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
And then she was saying her stomach hurt.
No.
And then she
You can skip songs, but don't skip
and then woke up and was crying really
vaccines.
hard.
Talk to their doctor about how to stay up to date and help protect them.
A public service
And
announcement
a
from
silver cup
Vaccinate
in
Your
there, and I
Family.
held it up and she threw up in the cup. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. Like, none of it got on her, none of it hurt. It could have been
WWDB,
6 hours.
Philadelphia.
Like, riding in a
The Talk Station.
Stacey, you might want to move that chair. Oh, shit. Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole, she's Sarah Timon, she's Stacey Mitchell, and we all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today. We've got Main Line junk removal coming in at the very end of the show to talk about how they can get all the stuff out of your house that you've been looking at for years. I don't know about you guys. I know that happens to a lot of folks. We're going to talk about housing affordability and real estate agent headcounts under pressure in this NAR settlement environment that we're in. But we're going to lead off with housing affordability. And there's a lot to talk about here in terms of what people are doing, what buyers are doing, what's happening when it comes to some of the people in Washington and what they're saying right now. So where I wanted to start is, I never heard this term. It's called Nepo home buyers, where basically there was some data that came out, according to a new Redfin report based on a survey conducted in February, that over a third of young Americans are using cash from family to fund down payments. And this doesn't come as a surprise to me that this is happening. I've always seen that happen where folks are giving their kids gifts for cash to help them buy their first home. The percentage, 36%, according to this survey by Redfin, was a pretty big number. And what I wanted to hear from you two, are you seeing more of this in the transactions that you're doing? Are you seeing mom and dad get involved? Are they coming up with cash to help their kids become more competitive versus like a low down payment option, like a 3% or 3.5%, because that's a large number of these folks. And I would imagine there's probably even more of that happening, especially when they're trying to balance like buying and selling a home and liquidating cash. What are you seeing in the field here? Because this might be something that buyers and sellers need to get used to.
So I've definitely noticed with a couple of my first-time buyers that parents are giving gifts. I haven't yet had a parent like outright pay cash for the home and then they pay back their family member. But I have noticed an uptick in, I think, gift money from parents for down payment, or to keep them from having to get PMI, to keep them in that 20% down range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've definitely seen that. I've had parents actually purchase with cash, actually the equity from their home. So they got a home equity line of credit from their home. They helped purchase a property with their son, and then they were going to refi and put the money back in.
Yeah.
So so we're seeing it, and I'm seeing more of gift money on BFIs. So it's definitely happening. And I've seen, when I represented the seller, I've seen families come to the table with gift money. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely happening. So I'm not surprised. It is a high number though to me.
Right.
It's huge.
Well, and that it
number.
doubled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it speaks to the strained housing affordability that's out there right now, because a lot of folks, they're just not able to afford what they wanted to. I mean, it's still very competitive when people look at appraisals, and looking at, all right, this buyer's got 30% down versus 3% down. That gives you like a little margin of error because they have the cash to come up with it, and it's not going to throw off their loan ratios. So I found that to be pretty substantial when looking at this. And Lance Lambert talked about this last week, and a lot of this stuff went under the radar because of the Fed meeting and the settlement. And he was on an interview with Charles Payne on Fox Business. So if you don't know Lance Lambert, he has his own website. It's called the Resi Club, all about residential housing analytics. And what he said was specifically taking into account mortgage rates, incomes, home prices, affordability is strained at the worst levels in the last 4 decades. And so when you have that, and a lot of home buyers can't get in, and a lot of home owners can't sell and buy something else because they can't afford these new monthly payments, what you see is a lot of political scapegoating. He went there. And so they're going after, in some municipalities, short-term rentals, Airbnbs, talking about the institutional side of the market, and then looking at scapegoating real estate agents. He mentions the DOJ is going after NAR, and that people act like lowering commissions would improve housing affordability. And then he said going after soccer moms making $60,000 a year because it's the only job that works around their kids' schedule. But at the end of the day, if you look out at a lot of the countries that have lower commissions, they don't have better housing affordability. These European countries have worse housing affordability. So there's a lot of scapegoating, and really the only thing that is going to improve housing affordability is supply. It's the boring things: more ADUs, upzoning, tax policy that works for new construction and not against new construction, lower fees on home building, all the boring stuff that would long-term increase supply. So what do you think about Lance Lambert talking about this here? Because this is affecting a lot of people. You think about the folks that are giving these gifts. I mean, that affects retirement. That affects people's ability to retire at the age they want to. Affordability continues to be the thing that's kind of jamming up the housing market here. And I thought this was very well said on this interview on Fox Business.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think it's really quick, especially if you just look at the headlines, and even some of the articles themselves that don't accurately say what is going on. That it's really easy to just be like, oh, it's the realtors, and that's the problem, and this will solve it. But it really is a lot of those other details, and it comes down to lack of inventory and lack of options for people.
Yeah, I like a lot of what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And we know we have seen a chart about the institutional buyers. There's not, it's a very small percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I hear that a lot. Oh, all these big corporations buying up real estate. It's a very, very small sliver. So I'm gonna have to pull up my chart so I can tell you the percentage. But most of the real estate owned is by, regular people, mom and pops,
yeah,
that have the. So, getting back to affordability and loosening up supply, if there were sellers' incentives, I believe that would definitely help. But what he said about coming after, blaming on the institutional buyers and us greedy realtors that,
Right.
We just lay around and wait for checks to come in. We don't do
Right.
anything. It's crazy how they'll blame everything else except what's really going on. And what's been happening since the Great Recession.
Mm-hmm.
This has been since Great Recession, and since a lot of the home builders went bankrupt. It's just been a heavy lift getting construction restarted. I think in 2018, that's when a lot of builders
Mm-hmm.
started coming back in. And then we had obviously COVID and supply chain issues. So it's just been a real challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of restrictions. So, loosening up getting some seller incentives would be very, very helpful.
Well, and you don't hear these solutions. I mean, you have the president coming out saying that this is the first time commissions were negotiable, which is just 100% inaccurate. I mean, it's just a bad statement. And then you have, I'm going to incentivize buyers here. Buyers don't need an incentive. They're trying to get a house. And, what Lance said here I thought was really, really accurate. It's some politicians, unfortunately, are using this settlement as a talking point. Then they came up with this number of everyone would save $10,000. And if commissions fall, it's sellers who are going to benefit, not buyers, because they're going to, you don't go to court when you have to pay your own attorney, and it doesn't work that way. So, I think there's a lot of posturing now around this because it's a hot topic, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, because I think you're going to see real estate agents, the number of them drop because of this. And there's some other opinions on this, but when it comes to affordability, what you really see happening right now is that we have these, we're seeing that there's 86.6% of all homeowners have a 5.99% or less rate on their home. So, that's a very real issue. And now that number's improved. It was over 90% this time, just a few months ago. We're seeing active listings increase. So on a year-over-year basis, active listings have increased 25.5%. And that means like the supply on the market, and new listings have risen by 14.9%. We haven't seen quite the same bounce here, but it's close. This is a national number, obviously. If you want to look at the state level stuff, you can actually go in and look at what's going on in Pennsylvania, which is not quite as robust, but we're also in a little more of a seasonal market than some of the other places that are seeing really big increases, like Florida and Texas and some of the southern states. So all of these things are happening, but you still have people locked in because it doesn't make sense for them to make a move. And then the flip side of this is everyone's kind of saying, well, if rates came down, everyone would be moving again. But then we have more inflation problems. So I don't know where this is going to go besides some sort of incentive to build more and to do some other things. I mean, we've seen a 1.1% increase in Pennsylvania from February of last year to February of this year. Now, obviously, that Pennsylvania is a big state, but we are seeing a little bit of a bounce here compared to where we were last year. And in our market, it's even a little higher. We saw about a 17% increase from November to November. So what are consumers saying about all this? Because I feel like there's more activity in the market than we saw 12 months ago. Like, what are your buyers and sellers saying, ladies, when you're sitting there talking to them and dealing with all these issues?
Well, I've had a couple buyers actually ask about the lawsuit. One just called me the other day and said, "So, do I have to pay you now?" And we talked at length about it, and one of his other initial reactions was, "And this is supposed to help buyers?" And it was a question.
Mm-hmm.
And I told him my opinion, and he said, I don't see how this is going to help buyers. So I am getting questions about it, mostly from buyers. I did have a seller ask about it also, thinking that they would probably not offer buyer agency compensation until we went over the benefits of offering buyer agency compensation. I'm definitely seeing the questions out there. There's a lot of really bad information that people are hearing. I just tell them, don't listen to what's going on the national news. Don't listen to that at all, because it's not correct. And thank you for asking me and trusting me to give you the information about what's happening.
Right.
It's swirling around out there.
Yeah. I've had it come up, several times. I was kind of surprised at the number of times it came up, but also, it is all over headlines. So not surprising that, it's kind of top of mind for people who are thinking about making a real estate decision. But yeah, I've had that come up in terms of like homes hitting the market and inventory. Earlier in the week, last week, I kind of felt like not much was happening. And then there were a number that popped up that didn't really have like the coming soon campaign, that just came straight to the market over the weekend. But like it has been, particularly turnkey properties that are in that in some of those hot price points, they're going quickly, and there's a lot of offers.
Yeah, a lot of offers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why these people have to go to their parents or family members to get some down money, because they really can't compete, and it's a challenge, right? So there's, and Stacy, what you said there, I think there's so much misinformation out there right now that if you don't have an agent that can actually explain all this to you in a clear and concise way, and if agents don't know about it, that's even a bigger problem that I see. So when you look at this whole thing here, it's really about affordability is a challenge, and unfortunately with this if the settlement gets approved the way it does, and buyers do have to pay, we don't really know what's going to happen. I mean, all we know right now is compensation's coming off the MLS, and that you're going to have a buyer agency agreement before you go out. I think that's actually going to help a lot of these buyers, so they don't get stuck with some agent that doesn't know anything, which is a big problem. And that's been going on for decades. I mean, and because there's a lot of confusion about this. So when it comes to affordability, if I'm a buyer right now, I'm looking at, hey, all right, what's my monthly payment? What's my cash to close? And it's a yes or no. And that's really the only numbers to look at here. Sellers are in a little bit of a different spot because they're going to have to make a decision. Does it make sense for me to move? Is it best for me to move if I have a lower rate? Because right now we've only got 13% of people have rates higher than 6% on their existing homes. So that's exactly where this is going to come down to. So when buyers are having affordability challenges, I mean, do you have people that have had to adjust their price ranges? Have they had to adjust their home search? Like, what's that conversation look like? Because I know it's not an easy one.
Oh yeah, I have had buyers adjust everything, their search criteria, and they're logistically, as far as their size, the size of the home that they're looking for. They've even included townhouses. I mean, pretty much everything. I've had buyers get creative with. You have to if you want to buy the house sometimes.
Yeah.
And instead of looking for that, move-in ready HGTV house that everybody, dreams of having, some have even adjusted to, okay, we can do some work to it.
Right.
A lower price point, put a little bit more money into the house.
Yep.
So there's options, and people are exploring those options.
Yeah, I've had people both adjusting criteria, maybe looking at the lower, a little bit lower on the price points there so that they can go up and compete. And I've also had people that have jumped up a little bit higher because parents have come in with cash.
Well, I think that's the question you need to start asking these people, or they need to ask themselves, like, hey, is there a family member that can lend me some money so I can make this work? Because there's buyers all the time that I'm only putting 3% down, and they're adamant about it. And no matter how many times you explain this to people, they're going to do it their way. And sometimes that's just how it works in the market. But when you lose out, I mean, it's all right, what can I do to win? And there's a lot of ways you can win an offer. One of the more fixed ways is with how much cash you have, and that's where it's a tougher conversation versus waiving the appraisal. Isn't, you don't have the ability to do that if you don't have enough cash, right?
Right.
Home inspection, you might not have enough. I mean, you can take a risk, but you might not have enough money to fix everything. Like there's so many things that go on here. And
Well, I think for asking for money to borrow, like from family members, is something that maybe they hadn't thought of before. And like when you're asking for this, it's not like you're asking for like, hey, I want to go on this vacation, or I want to like do whatever. This is an investment that then, you can work out the terms for how to pay them back eventually. But if that's what gets you into the home, it's an investment.
I think that the folks that I'm working with that don't have that capability, they don't have the luxury of family.
Right. And not every, and
Right.
Yeah.
And they do have the 3% down. It's been so tough for them out there. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I mean, you can look at it both ways. But at least they were able to get under contract and do some due diligence, and we're trying to work through that. So hopefully it will work out. Yeah. But it was, I think we were like 10 or 11 offers in until this one got under contract. But it's so difficult for them. So difficult. So
especially when they're giving everything that they have.
Everything.
To, it's not, they don't
Every
have
dime.
anything else to give.
Exactly. They don't. And they're so nervous because they're first time home buyers to begin with.
Right.
With a family. So it's like, are we really making the best decision?
Right.
So it's, it's that kind of situation that really makes it tough. And I mean, if they had to pay compensation on top of it, they wouldn't be able to buy a house. They'd be looking at, continuing to rent.
Right.
So we're going to talk about the commission settlement in a second here, because I think that there's going to be a lot of scripting that needs to happen. You explained how you would talk to a seller about this. Let's pause that for now. Let's take a quick break. And what I'll leave everyone here with, for the agents that are listening and for the consumers that are listening, you might need to ask yourself, is there a way for me to raise my down money? Can I come up with more cash to close? Just out of curiosity, is there a way for you to come up with more cash here? That might be a great question agents can ask their clients. So let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about real estate agent headcounts being under pressure next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Mortgage great service and great rates on your money, look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have
So I'm glad you worked at that
closing
script
cost
stage, because it's like
programs
the same
and
thing, you have
access
to do
to
that stuff.
subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is
We just had this
free,
conversation
no
like 10
cost or
minutes ago before I got
commitments. To
here.
learn more, visit our website.
Oh, well, so do I have to pay this fee? I'm like, do you want all the buyers to
Give
come?
us a call
Yes,
at
okay, then we're gonna pay.
610-439-8000.
Okay, makes sense.
We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your
They
home
started
with
off
the
with
personalized,
so-
local service you find at
Negotiable
Mortgage
now,
America.
It's always been with
The
this-
Tom Toole
it's
Sales
from
Group is the
the
number
seller,
one
but then
RE/MAX
the
team
buyer
in
that called me
Pennsylvania
and
with
said,
over
"Oh, yeah.
165 million
Yeah,
in
it's funny,
volume
they
for
just come right out
2021.
directly
I'm
said-
Tom Toole, and our
Yeah,
team
so
has achieved that
definitely
kind of
being
success
prepared on
by
how to
being a
answer
great
is
place to
key.
work with and to work for.
But there's
No
always
one
a
knows
discount.
Greater Philly better than we do.
Discount.
We know real estate, but more
Right.
importantly,
Maybe
we're
this is
real
forever.
people.
Yeah.
We hire the best agents and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor.
Yeah.
Because this isn't a transaction to us, it's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line at 610-692-976 or visit tomtoole.com.
How's everything going
That's
with
Tom,
Waverly?
Toole with an E.com.
How's
Sell
the
your
last
home for
weekend of
more,
April for
and
you for
remember
that
the
open
real
house?
estate golden
Good.
rule.
Yeah.
You always get more when you
Did
work
the
with Tom
video
Toole.
ever
You're
come
getting a
out?
mortgage, you
Oh,
shouldn't
send
have
it.
to sacrifice great service just to get a grade.
Got the
Yeah.
cards with
Mortgage
you in there.
America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great loan rates without the
As
complications
Tom
of
says.
big or online banks. We're a local
What's the school report
Pennsylvania
website? It's
loan
niche.com?
officers, and you can actually
30 seconds.
The what
big
website?
number
So, like, check out the
we
schools?
specialize in all residential
Oh, yeah.
mortgage
Yep.
programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your
10 seconds.
You have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Stand by. Next main line.
Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole, she's Stacy Mitchell, she's Sarah Timon. We all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are talking about real estate agent headcounts being under pressure, as well as we've got mainline junk removal coming here to talk about how to get stuff out of your house, how to help prep a home, declutter. Very overwhelming for a lot of clients I know that we've all worked with. So if you get some value out of this, you'll like what you hear, make sure to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel, click the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with one of these two ladies, you can do that with the link in the comments. So another interesting article here this is no surprise to me, by the way, that even if commissions hold steady, a lot of people are predicting that we are going to see real estate agent headcounts under significant pressure. One, because of what's going on in the market, and two, because of I think there's going to be an inability to actually navigate this for some folks. That's my observation, at least. And we already seen that NAR, the National Association of Realtors, their membership between January 2023 and January 2024, it fell 2.08%. Washington State is down the most by 11.1. They've also had a couple brokerages pull out of NAR altogether. They don't have that MLS tie-in. And then Barbara Corcoran came out and said, hey, I don't think this commission lawsuit's a big deal, but the confusion that it is causing is amazing. So with all this talk about what's going to happen with the industry, agents coming and going, what do you two think is going to happen?
Well,
Yeah.
I think with renewals happening,
Yep.
licensing renewals happening at the end of May, I think we're going to see a big drop off then. There's a lot of panic and uncertainty among agents nationally, just on some of the boards, some of the
Mhm.
stuff you're reading.
Mhm.
Right.
People have no idea how to approach this. They don't even have the correct information. They're like it's hair on fire. So if they're already struggling in this market, I think they're just gonna they're not gonna renew their license. So I
Right.
think we're gonna see a big drop, at the end of May.
Yeah, I agree. If you were kind of up in the air as to, you know, if you were planning on it, like just the fact that it is a renewal year, I think will cause a lot of agents to pull out. And I mean, with this being a business where like you must get to the settlement table to get paid, different people have different amounts of tolerance and buffer and savings set aside to kind of get through some of the more difficult times. And I think often when there are a lot of changes going through and things that you need to adapt to, if you're somebody that can't do that quickly, and that's going to add additional kind of lag time into getting your next deal, you may not have the option to stick it out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I think what we're looking at here is the confusion. You know, it's very unfortunate what happens in our business because it's all independent contractors, right? If you're on a team, doesn't matter. You're still running your own business. I think we all kind of get that, and I know that's something Brian, our sales manager, talks about all the time. Is we're all business owners, and there's some business owners that are just waiting for a deal to fall out of the sky. And in my view, if you're really not even if you're not spending a couple hours a day generating business or trying to talk to people and move them through the funnel, and 2 hours is kind of the magic number. I don't even know if you really have a business, and that's just something that I see, and we see the folks that struggle. It's because they're not doing anything; they're just waiting for something to come to them. And if they're doing that with their own business and livelihood, then there's a change like this, and like most people aren't even going to be able to explain it. Like some people are just sticking their head in the sand, and it's. There's still going to be, like you said, Stacy, you were able to explain this to a seller in ways they can understand because you still have to attract buyers. You still have to prep the home to make the best possible impression for buyers. You still need someone to negotiate, and it's a lot easier negotiating with two people working with the clients than just one, where you're having to basically deal with both sides. So I think the confusion around this is a lot of people don't even know what it means, and this isn't just consumers, it's also agents. So, and you factor that in with there's less transactions. A lot of people that got licensed, and Sarah, what's the number? 75% of agents are out of the business their first year,
Yep.
and 87% are out after 5 years. So, if you look at like the next renewal cycle, right? So it's 2024. So that means the last time anyone that got licensed in like 2022 on, well, the 2022 was a weird year because it was a good market at the start, and then it changed a little bit the second half of the year, right? So a lot of those people that maybe got into the business when it was easy to do a deal and you were in the right place at the right time, now they don't know what to do. They don't know how to talk to people. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to say it. They're going to have a tough time doing any business, period. I mean, I think it's going to be a real challenge. So I would see that we could, I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a 10% drop in membership over the next year.
I think so. I think it could even be higher. I mean, given the age of the majority of agents, they're going to be aging out also. So
Great point.
Those folks too that are like, you know what, it was a good run, I'm out, because they are at the point where, they just should retire or they want to retire, and
Right.
then this is just the straw, that broke the camel's back. They just don't want to have to deal. So I think you're going to see some of that too.
Right.
So Joe Rath, he's the head of industry relations for Redfin. He said the decline in existing home sales hit newer agents the hardest, especially those who got into the business during the pandemic housing boom. We've seen a lot of that, and those with significant business and strong customer pipeline have been able to weather this downturn better. But there's no doubt that this sluggish market has caused financial stress for many real estate professionals, and the downturn will lead less successful agents and part-time hobbyist agents to leave the industry for good. And he talks about part-time. I mean, the NAR stat is like the average agent worked like 30 hours a week last year. You're already part-time. The average agent's already part-time. So I don't know how you're going to be able to sustain this with less sales. I know if I'm hiring somebody, I'm hiring the person that's aggressive and treating it like a business. There's going to be some breakage for sure, and then on top of this, you have like the DOJ coming in, and even with these commission settlements, now the DOJ is, targeting things a little more aggressively and calling for the entire decoupling, that a seller shouldn't even be allowed to pay a buyer, which I think that might violate some constitutional rights in my view, because it's your property. So what do you think happens with the DOJ in light of, what's going to be the first shoe to drop? People leaving the business, the DOJ, both. I mean, there's so many things happening right now that I think there's going to be some. I see a lot of winners here, which I'll get into, but I want to hear what you two think about all this.
I think there's going to be the drop first in agents because of that May 31st renewal date,
Mm-hmm.
and the money that you have to shell out, and the fact that you need to have your courses completed by then. So just because that date falls before a lot of these changes, I think, are going to be taking effect, I think we'll see an agent drop off first, and then potential, and then probably still see a trickling out as time goes on.
Yeah, I agree. We'll see the drop first. I don't really, I just wish we could have a conversation with the DOJ and ask them what is the intent, what is the goal of decoupling or not allowing sellers to even offer compensation to begin with?
Right.
Where's that coming from? And why do they believe that's going to be beneficial for the housing market?
Yeah.
Who does that benefit? And where do they see the buyers getting resources?
Right.
I just want to know where they're getting their information.
Yeah.
The whole reason that buyer agency was created was because of consumers getting bilked out. Or, you know what I mean? The whole thing was created.
Yeah.
Because there were so many issues with dual agency. There's some, there's some states that don't allow dual agency.
Right.
So what happens then?
Right.
I know that some sellers think that that'll be automatic. Well, if you're going to list my home, then you're going to take the buyers through and you're going to do this and do that and do this and the other.
Then you're still paying the same commission that you would have been paying if you were splitting sides.
Bingo.
'Cause you're doing all of the work.
Double work.
Yep.
Right.
Can you imagine that?
Oh my gosh.
So there's a lot of really hard conversations.
Start picking listings that only are in your neighborhood.
Right.
Because you're never going home again.
Never. You're going to be living at the house, showing buyers and talking to your seller. But everybody has to understand when you get in under contract with a seller to list their home, you're working for the seller.
Right. Well, and then even if what gets hairy with dual agency is even if you completely are, by the book and you don't disclose any information to the other side that you weren't supposed to, and you're doing everything right, there's always the perception that they may think that you did. So even if there's really, it's a hard one to come out of with everybody feeling good about it, I guess, unless if it is the cleanest offer with everybody got exactly what they wanted and it got done in several weeks, from getting under contract to settlements. There's no time for issues to arise.
That doesn't happen.
And
There's
that's
never a
so
dream.
rare. Right. So
right. And perception is everything.
Yeah.
And even when people are represented on both sides, there's still a perception, right? Sometimes, some people really get things, in their heads. So that's going to be a real problem. I think that there's going to be a lot of issues that come up because of this. Yeah, the whole thing. What they're trying to undo was done for a very specific reason in the first place.
Right.
You mentioned about the seller side, right? And I think there's going to be questions that come up around this. So I kind of mapped out, and our team's been training for this for a while, and I think it's important to be in an environment where you have these opportunities to even go sell houses. So you don't want to be one of these people that drops out of the business. But if you can't effectively explain to sellers, here's the benefits of doing this, here's the benefits of paying a buyer's agent, because most buyers can't afford this anyway. The buyers always exhaust all their they go to the max, and that's what happens no matter what. So they're always going to go to the max. Then there's the flip side of even if they do negotiate it, right, and let's say they come and ask they ask the seller for a concession or something, then you did all this anyway, and you get the same net result at the end, and it causes a lot more headaches, but you're dropping down the exposure that you're getting. And the reality is, most agents can't even practice the script to talk to a buyer about their needs, the amount of questions that get missed, right? And so if you're not practicing these things and understanding it so you can clearly say this to somebody. I mean, we've been practicing this all week and for longer than a week, but I've also been on appointments with people on our team, and they start to try to explain things, and it's like they go all down these paths, and they're talking about, and it's, you lost me, let alone the client. So that's going to be really critical here. To me, it's you got to practice these scripts and understand exactly what to say, have deliverables for your clients, and then be able to understand, okay, here's what it means, here's how this plays out. What do you want to do? Like that's what good business people do, whether it's an accountant, an attorney, whomever. So that's going to be the big challenge here, because if you can't explain it properly, people are going to be like, well, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
And that's explaining anything throughout
Yeah.
a real estate transaction.
Totally agree.
I would be curious to see too then later on in the year after, some changes go through, if then there'll actually be an uptick of agents that, people that become agents, just if it's not this doomsday scenario and it is something that they were like thinking about doing before. I feel like in addition to like agents dropping out with all of this happening, there also could be a pause on agents coming in because they're maybe like a little uncertain about, is this the right time to hop into this? And maybe as a little bit of time goes on, then you'll see some of them coming in.
Well, I think we're already seeing that, because we're constantly looking for great people to bring into our company, because unfortunately, you talk about that new agent failure rate. There's some people that walk in the door and they're like, I have to make phone calls, and then they leave after a day. It's happened. You probably don't even know these people because they're in and out so quick. And what we've seen is that the agents that have a little bit of experience are doing a lot better right now than people that are brand new, because they don't know what they want. They think it's going to be easy, instead of, hey, I need to get into a place where there's more opportunities in a right environment. I can tell you from our standpoint, the amount of people that we talk to, the ones that are doing well, right, they're the ones that have a little bit of experience or at least know what they're getting into. They also treat it like a job, which I think is a problem in real estate anyway.
Well, running a small business is very difficult. I don't care what kind of business you're running.
You've run multiple,
So it's not easy. People, I don't know. I guess they have like this perception, perception of how a small business is, and then it's work. You have to constantly work on your business all the time.
Always, no doubt. All right, let's cut it right there. So we got mainline junk in the house here. Patrick will be jumping on in the next segment. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
Nervous.
What's up, Patrick? How you doing,
How's it
man?
going? Thanks.
Good.
Took me a minute to get. Once I got in the building.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of time.
Two. Suburban Solutions. That's a gym company, and then the other one's SuburbanSolutions.com.
Including first-time buyer programs and low down payment
Split the
options.
brands.
For your free pre-approval, call us at
And then
610.
Stacey, you want to move down a little bit so we can get him in?
And buy Mortgage America.
Yes, SuburbanSolutions.com.
You shouldn't have to deal with all the
Which one do you want us to plug?
I typically kind of put them together because they're kind of related. But it's up to you guys if you want me to
We're
just
going to give them all.
We are here in your community and ready to serve with fast settlements, low
Why don't you go here, Stacey?
first-time
Yeah, and then we can-
programs. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. For more information,
Much
visit
better.
our website.
You don't have to look at it.
MyMortgageAmerica.com or give us a call at 610.
Is there like a direction here? Am I just talking or?
Well, ask about your company, tell us what you guys do, we'll ask you some questions.
If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special
The reason I'm
offer
asking for
you.
the
Our team
website, so
did
we can plug the website.
165
So it's
million
Mainline Junk and
dollars
Suburban
in
Solutions, right?
2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I'm glad it worked out.
Because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been
And we'll
with us
clip up the
for at
video
least
and
a
stuff
year
for you afterwards,
average
so.
Yeah, that's
like a
awesome.
commercial for your
Even our
company.
brand new
Definitely.
agents average 17 to 24
Oh,
sales
I
a year.
see. So
We
Philadelphia
offer proven
movers
systems and expert training.
and
We
then
help
junk
you
Yeah,
set
removal.
up
Got
your
it.
And we
business.
service,
Now I
Now,
all
understand.
we're in Havertown.
If
We
you
use
don't have a
Philadelphia.
real estate license
And then
yet,
just
we
for
offer
search
real estate
purposes.
scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realprogram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get
Yeah, you won't be able to hear anything. And when you talk to them, like, you gotta kind of talk like this.
Real estate, you want control.
Like up here?
10 seconds. Income.
Not like-
Whether you have a
like,
license
keep
or
it
not,
like
call us today.
not far.
There's a little volume control there.
Or visit tomtoole.com.
See it
Join
over
our
there?
team, the Tom
Yep.
Step Up at RE/MAX Mainline.
You'll hear your headset.
All All right. We are back on Toole Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. She's Stacy Mitchell. We all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we are talking with Patrick McNichol from Main Line Junk. So if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Hit the bell for notifications, and if you want to schedule a call with us or get in touch with Patrick, you can use the link in the comments. Patrick, thanks for coming on first and foremost. Really appreciate having you here. The websites are mainlinejunk.com and suburbansolutions.com, so tell us what you need to go to, what the right websites are, what you guys do, because finding good movers and getting rid of stuff in your house is a major problem for a lot of consumers right now.
Thanks again for having me. So we have two brands. We focus on anything relocation related. So when it comes to packing, moving, junk removal, cleanouts, we handle everything from start to finish. We can do as little as a small apartment move to large estates. We move locally and long distance, so anywhere to or from the Philadelphia area, we can handle, and all local moves as well. We have a sister company, Mainline Junk Removal, which does residential and commercial junk removal, from small bulk furniture cleanouts of a garage to full estate cleanouts. We can help manage estate sales as well, and we do a lot of property management work for builders, where we're doing turnover or eviction cleanouts, as well as construction debris removal and demolition. And we also do a lot of senior downsizing, which is a combination of everything. That's been our focus for the last couple of years. I think you guys know that a lot of people that are moving these days are in the senior world.
Mm-hmm.
So we really try to focus on both companies here, because when seniors are relocating, they're typically downsizing. So we can help with an array of services, from packing and organizing what they currently have, moving what they need into their new home, whether it's a 55+ community, independent living, whatever it may be. But there's also a lot of things left over that are still in good condition, which is where we use our estate sales teams to help sell and recoup value for our clients. We can also donate anything that is still in good condition but might not have that extra value. And then last but not least is just getting rid of whatever's left over. A lot of people need friends and family to take some of the items too. So we try to be a one-stop shop. We say one call solves it all. You give us a ring and we can handle anything that you need to relocation-wise.
Wow, awesome.
So this is like one of the big stressors for a lot of the folks I know that I've met with. I mean, how many times I think of one client in particular we met with. I mean, we've gone through this a couple times. So, like, what are some of the stressors that you guys hear that maybe a company like Patrick could help with? Because we see it on the other side. They're like, what do I do? They don't even know companies like you exist half the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think getting that information to them early on, because that often is a topic that comes up when you're just talking about like getting the house ready to sell, let alone then when it gets under contract and you have to have all your stuff out. So yeah, having that like as an available option early on, maybe like kind of coincide with if there's somebody that wants us to bring the stager in, so the stager would make the recommendations, and then the rest of the stuff they can kind of get started on, so it's decluttered prior to people even coming in. Or I mean, I've also had it happen where I had a seller who the buyers that we ended up accepting the offer for, they said, whatever you don't take, we'll clean it out once we get in. And that meant more than money,
Yeah.
like they just didn't want to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, we do that a lot. So we like to offer a couple different things to our realtor colleagues. One thing we've been doing more recently is offering, especially for sellers, offering our invoicing to go onto the settlement sheet. So a lot of people.
Oh, wow.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. They don't have the cash.
Exactly. So we're happy to get paid after settlement, after closing. Title companies are good for it. So if we trust you guys as realtors, we're going to trust your clients as well. And same thing for buyers. If they want to buy a place and they want to offer the seller to just leave the place furnished, and if there's a lot of stuff left behind, we can work with the realtors to make sure that we can get that out at the convenience of either the buyer or the seller, whatever works best for the transaction. We try to be as flexible as we can. Like you mentioned, staging. If you can involve us as early as the listing appointment, we can help time everything to make it more efficient for everybody.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to settlements in the summertime. our schedules fill up more than a month in advance.
Okay.
The amount of times we get a call for a 4-bedroom move in the same week in the middle of June, that's just not feasible for us in most cases. So we like to get this on your settlement schedule as quickly as we can, so we are not adding stress, but we're making it easier, because it is stressful, right? So the earlier you involve us in the process, the easier we can make it for your clients.
Perfect.
I
So-
love that it is like one-stop shopping, and I'm noticing on your website, especially with the junk removal, there's a lot of items that you take.
Yes, I was just looking at this.
Oh my lord, that are like major issues. Hot tub removal,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
piano disposal. I mean, scrap metal tires. They're so difficult getting rid of tires.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are some things, and TVs. I mean, you guys do it all.
Yeah. We're doing a clean out
Amazing.
for, I think, I can't say who the buyer is, but they're buying an empty lot. There's over 3,000 tires
Oh my gosh.
on the lot, and
Ooh.
we'll
What
do
do you
it.
even do with those? I mean,
Uh,
get rid of them, obviously.
So we can't take those to your traditional transfer station
Yeah.
to landfill. So you have to we have a couple partners that'll help us get rid of those.
That's
But,
awesome.
Yeah, we'll do that in a day. We can take care of that all in a day.
Wow.
Well, these are also things that cause major problems in real estate transactions, right? Like, I don't want this elliptical here, right? You got to, I mean, just leftover furniture all the time. I mean, and it's really hard finding people to take it. Tires, I mean, that's wild. I mean, this is really, really insightful. I think a lot of people, this is why it's good having a great vendor list. So,
Paint cans, that's a big one, I'm
Oh,
sure,
yeah,
for buyers and
right.
sellers. But I mean, 9 out of 10 cans of paint in someone's basement are dried out. And
Right.
worthless.
Yeah. There's like this much in it. It's just
Yeah.
dried and caked and like.
Exactly.
somebody that's
No
been
one
in a home
stores
for-
it right.
Yeah,
and
30
that has to
years.
be disposed of in a certain way. So we
Yes.
can handle that. There is an additional cost. It's typically $5 a can on top of our traditional removal cost, but that's easy
Where does
for us.
paint have to go?
It has to be dried out. So we use sand or kitty litter. It has
Yep.
to be dried out, and then it can go anywhere. But you can't just send a can of latex paint in your trash can or to a local landfill. They have to dry it out, and they'll charge you for it.
Oh.
And the TVs. I mean, that's a major issue.
Yeah,
too.
and for TVs and a lot of other electronics, we try to recycle those either to someone who's going to take it apart and recycle it properly. But we also try to repurpose things. There's a lot of charities in the Philadelphia area that will take monitors, TVs, laptops, hard drives, anything like that. They'll properly wipe it, and then they can reuse that in the school system or different nonprofits. So we try to get as much out of the landfill as we can.
Nice.
It's just the right thing to do. A lot of companies
Yeah.
will say that and they just throw it out. But and same thing with furniture. It's more cost effective for me to donate it than it is to pay to throw. I have to pay money to throw something out too.
Right.
So I'd rather get it to Goodwill. There's a bunch of charities in the area. We're going to try to start a secondhand store where we're selling like a dresser for $10.
Right.
It might be worth $200 to somebody, but I just want to keep it in the hands of someone who needs it that might not be able to afford something.
Right. Well, because it is so frustrating thinking about all the stuff that goes to a landfill that somebody else would have
Yeah.
very happily taken.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
need to make money off it. I'm just trying to save money
Yeah.
and keep it in the hands of someone who's still going to, like, everything deserves a second chance.
Right.
Furniture does too.
Yeah.
So what areas do you guys cover here? I know you're in the Philadelphia area, but I just would love to hear you explain all that so we can get that out to the audience that's listening.
Absolutely. So our office is in Havertown, Pennsylvania. We service Delaware, Bucks, Montgomery, Chester, and Philadelphia. We're in South Jersey, Northern Delaware all the time as well. Most of our moves, probably about 80% of our moves are local. As long as you're starting or ending in our area, we can handle that move too. So we call it a reverse
Awesome.
commute. If you have a buyer that's coming here from Chicago, we can go and get them and bring them into the area as well.
Wow.
Okay.
And then we go to LA, anywhere across the U.S. Most of our moves out of state are up and down 95, up to Connecticut, and then down to Florida.
Okay.
Wow.
Amazing.
So one landing point has to be here, but
That's right,
otherwise.
Yeah, I can't do Pittsburgh to Chicago. That might be a little bit harder, but if someone really needs it, we'll figure out a way to do it.
Okay.
So I'm hearing a lot of stuff that, I mean, this is just the stuff people put off. But when it comes to helping someone downsize, because I think this is the biggest stressor for a lot of folks, is they don't know what to do with everything. They don't know how to get it organized. What's your process look like? Because I think that'll put the worst part about selling a house. Well, actually, there's two worst: moving out, but then also getting it ready for the market, especially if you've been there 30, 40
Sure.
years. So what's your process look like for the folks that are listening?
So there's a couple different ways we can handle that. It really depends on the client. So some people just want to get rid of a lot of stuff, and you might just want it to show better. Some people have really good stuff. It's just overcrowded. We can take that to storage. So it's really, every scenario is unique. But we have storage solutions, we have removal solutions, packing, organizing. So if it's just a lot of clutter, we can help you organize it, sort through it. We can take that step by step, depending on the demographic. If it's on our senior communities, we try to take it nice and slow. Some people want to go. We try to cater what we do to the client, because some people need some time, some people need some space, and some people just want to get it done. So we can do it all in a day. We can do it in over a couple of weeks. It doesn't matter to us. Whatever makes our clients happy is good for us.
Yeah, that is like very true, that there isn't like one right way. Like
Yeah.
that could, having it all done immediately might be a negative for some people versus, yeah.
I mean, if you've been in a house for 40 years, you've raised children in that same house, you've got literally a lifetime of memories. Going through that is not, throwing away the basement in 20 minutes. That's
Right.
sorting and taking time to look through, what do I want to keep, what do I want to get rid of,
Yeah.
what does somebody else want? Sometimes there's 5 different stops where we're downsizing on top of where the primary residence is going to be. Because
So you can like drop this off at their house, take this to their house.
Exactly. Yeah. It's donation. It's the sister's house. It's the aunt's house. It's the uncle's house. Whatever. There's so many variables that come into play, and we're a logistics company when it comes to moves like that. And all it is just planning and making sure we're on top of it.
And then is all of that like line itemed out and priced? Like, do additional stops mean additional?
So it's all by the
dollars?
hour. So yeah, it's just going to take longer. So everything we do is typically by the hour on the moving side,
Okay.
and the sorting and organizing side. When it comes to junk removal, that's typically priced by volume. So we have the 16-yard dump trucks. You've probably seen many at 1-800 GOT. We don't have to talk about them. Those style trucks.
Who?
So we charge by volume. The more you fill up, the more you're going to pay. So we only charge you for what you're spending. And then if it's a really large job, I'll probably give you a flat rate for the clean outside. But moving's and packing's always done by the hour.
Okay.
Really helpful. I mean, because you're right. I think that there's so much stress involved with this stuff, and the memories are probably just as bad as anything else for people, because they're not every move's happy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I think everyone likes to think it's like always a great thing, but that's not how it works. So I mean, you got all these services here. So what else should people know about your companies here? I mean, I think this is a great resource for a lot of people, because it's so hard finding a company that can actually do this in a professional way. I mean, it sounds like you're really making an impact on the community as well, just donating things and doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it is stressful, but I think our guys have been around long enough. We understand what the customer. We try to put our in the shoes of our customers. We can make your move enjoyable, contrary to popular belief. We can make it fun. We try to make it as easy as possible for our customers, because we know that they're stressed. Nobody wants to pick up and relocate. It's like going home from vacation. Like, you love the idea of going on vacation, but you never want to come back.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing. So rather than just have to carry a bunch of heavy stuff, so we just try to make it easy. We know what the sticking points are, so we try to tackle those ahead of time so that our customers are prepared, and that way there's no surprises on moving day. For anybody. We don't want to show up to a home and we think it's a 2-bedroom apartment and there's 3-car garage full of stuff on top of 3 other bedrooms. So
Right.
we ask the right probing questions to understand the scope of the move, so that way you're prepared. There might be a lot of questions, but you're going to have a much smoother move because of it.
Yeah. Have you ever had it happen where you pull up to a house and the truck is too large for the street, and then you have to park somewhere else and carry everything out, and it's
We are
further,
experts
and it takes extra
on.
hours?
We are experts
happened
on. Did it really?
Yes.
Oh man, that's horrible.
There's one move I told the guy, hey, we can do your move, but if it's raining, because we couldn't get up the driveway,
Yeah.
there was just no way. Like a van, my car couldn't even get up almost. And they just got the top coat done, so it was slippery. I said, hey, we can do this move for you, but if it's raining, I have to cancel the move, because there's no way
Yeah.
that we could. It was like an ice patch.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's scenarios where we have to plan, but we know how to use Google Maps.
Yeah.
And if we think the driveway is too steep, we'll go out and look at it before we even give you a quote, because that going into the driveway and parking on the street in the suburbs, that could mean a difference of half a day.
Oh yeah.
That could be $1,000 difference.
Yeah.
And I don't want to show up and say it's going to cost you $2,500 to move your single family home, and it's going to cost $3,500
Yeah.
afterwards. Nobody wants to hear that. So I try to overplan, overpromise, or underpromise, overdeliver.
Yeah.
Nobody benefits from surprises on moving day.
Right.
Moving day's rough. I mean, so what do you guys do to prepare? What should people do to prepare for moving day? Because this is I've heard nightmare stories, like they're not even ready when they come move out, and then we got to deal with it. So
Hire us for packing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually is that's a good call.
Yeah, I mean, packing is not cheap, but we can do it. We can pack almost any single house in a single day. We'll
Wow.
do move the next day. If it's a 4,500 plus square foot home, maybe we do 2 days. Or if you have 3 dining rooms, like I said, that takes longer. But
And then
just
you like
call
hold
us
it
in
in the
advance.
truck overnight, and then
We'll pack you and leave you in your house, and
Okay.
then the next day we'll come and load everything up.
Gotcha.
But it's just call us in advance, and just we have moving guides that we can kind of prepare you if you're going to do it all on your own. Baby steps, 2 boxes a day, and that's going to get you farther than you think.
Mhm.
Start eating out of your freezer, start eating out of your pantry, just
Yeah.
downsize what you can.
Yeah.
But just do it in baby steps. If you wait for the last minute, you're going to be stressed. You're not going to be ready, and it's just not going to go well. We'll take care of it. We bring boxes for that instance where the customer's not ready, but it's just going to take longer. So it's just step by step, baby steps is the way to go.
Great call. So that's it. If you need to get in touch with Patrick and his team, it's mainlinejunk.com or suburbansolutions.com. Really great service here. Cover the entire greater Philadelphia area. You want to follow Stacy, she's at the number 2 Mitchko on Instagram. You can follow Sarah at Ty_Ty_Time. That's TY_TYTIME. And you can follow me at Tom Toole III, at Tom Toole 3RD. We'll be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
That's great. Did you bring any cards?
Oh shit! They're in my car. I don't know if I have any in my car in here.
Okay.
Patrick's in that referral group we have.
Oh,
so he'll
okay,
be-
good.
Yeah,
That was really great.
That was fun.
And people are always
No,
so
they're all
nervous
my
to
God.
come on, and then they're just like, oh, that wasn't.
That was great.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer questions all day. Like it's easier when you guys help guide me.
Yeah.
Sneezing,
That was good, man.
coughing, stuffy nose, runny
So,
nose,
so
post
this
nasal
is
drip,
live.
Yeah, so if you go on our YouTube page and then our videographer and photographer,
Allergies and sinus congestion were making Jenna miserable.